Alright, yeah, hey guys, it's Turek. Chapter 1100 came out earlier. It actually came out on Wednesday this time. Last time it came out like on Thanksgiving. Well, it was like 11 o'clock still my time that week when it came out. but sorry, Dragon fans. To those Dragon fans out there, theorists that were using this number thing to think that Dragon was going to make an appearance. I honestly don't fully get. I get why, but I don't get why you think of this. We saw where the story is leading up to. We see where we're going. Because we had the last chapter where Dragon suggested going to meet Vegapunk. How was Dragon to show up now? I guess you thought we were gonna just jump to the present. Sorry, Wilder. If you thought we were gonna jump to the present, I think Oda's trying to finish this flashback first. He's not gonna because this arc. Maybe it's because this arc has been about going back and forth with like other characters, but that was only concurrent events happening in the present. Wait, while I get back. Move the keyboard. This flashback is happening in a continuous manner, the same as other flashbacks Oda has done. Odin's and Robin's, it comes to mind. So this one leads right into the points that lead to Kuma becoming a cyborg. Essentially, this is what happens. That's the main thing that happens here. And we see other little stuff too that's very interesting, and we'll go over that. So the last chapter was where Kuma decided to, for a quick recap, decided to leave Sorbet Kingdom because King Bakura. No, you gotta get down there, Wilder. Hold on. There's no space here. Every time I want to record, baby, you can't do this. Give me some space. Hold on. My cat is insisting on laying here. I shall have to make her some space. Here, lay right there. There you go. There. Let me move this up then. There, how's that, Wilder? Just gonna sit right under my mic. King Bakura is gonna come back again. He got the military and the world government to label Kuma as a tyrant. So we found out where that started. And he started using his time away from Sorbet to search for a cure for Bonnie. We saw him visit most of the islands that he would send the Straw Hats to, with the exception of Boa Hancock's and I was gonna say about that, and eventually goes to Dragon, who he's the one who mentions Vegapunk and says, well, because Vegapunk has just had Punk Hazard destroyed due to Caesar. Damn. Vegapunk is moving to a new facility. He's moving to a new facility in another part of the New World, Egghead, and what's not going to be called Egghead yet. What was it called? It's called Naval Science Division Laboratory 8. Okay. So what was Punk Hazard called before that? I have to look that up. So Kuma thought Dragon. a lot of people are pointing this out too. Like Dragon kind of fucked this up. He said, "Oh, go there. The security will be low. It'll be fine. Because you're a pirate now. You can't just go to Vegapunk, who's now a marine, a marine government scientist." And even Vegapunk thought, "Oh, this is great. Yeah, come on in. It's fine." And he was impressed by Kuma and saying, "Oh, Kuma, you're just what I want for my new program to help the government fight pirates. I'm gonna make you clone of you and make the pacifistas. And if you do this, if you let me, if you work with me on this, well, I'll waive the cost. I'll waive the cost of Bonnie's procedure. I have a cure for. I know how to cure her. I should say he said he know how to cure her, and waive the cost." Unfortunately, Vegapunk was not cautious enough, and Kuma wasn't expecting this, and like this is where dragging, cause um, this is where I messed up. I, by the way, didn't get this right. I thought someone reported to Saturn about what this meeting, but he actually had a had a Black Denden Mushi there, which is ones that does like surveillance type stuff, right? And so this is where we can. This next one goes right from that point with Here we go. So we start this chapter where we start this chapter with Kizuru has arrived on the island, and he's talking to Vegapunk first. So Vegapunk and him first are having a nice little soft exchange, a little small talk. But then Vegapunk gets a little reprimanded by Kizuru, saying, "You should have checked every nook and cranny if you wanted to get away with this. His government isn't gonna allow like a marine employee isn't going to allow a marine employee to work a deal with a pirate. It doesn't, and then I guess I'm a little confused by that because Vegapunk seems like he's just accepting this licking, but it look. I'm guessing he got a little mad back at him. This is something too where like Kizuru is kind of like friends with Vegapunk here, and we see some more of him like kind of bonding even later with like Kuma and Bonnie to some extent, which actually ties into something he did a few chapters ago in the present point. Kizuru is still just doing his job, and it's very sad to see that he like takes this job more seriously than his friendship. So this is like the opposite of like how like how Kobe and Hamepo were, especially like how we saw in the live action, and how the Kobe and Hamepo stepped up to stop Garp from arresting Luffy. Kizu's doing the opposite. He's like friends with Vegapunk, but he has to do his job, which is like how he's doing later. He's trying to kill Luffy, or not Luffy, kill Vegapunk because he's ordered to. So now we get the meeting between Saturn and he does a meeting. He over Dundon Mushi. He does. There's a meeting with Vegapunk, Kuma, and Saturn with Kizuru in the corner. Actually, in Saturn, unfortunately, he makes one good point here that I kind of wish I thought of. He reprimands Saturn reprimands Vegapunk for wanting to choose a pirate as the face of their clone program because it'll be an affront to the Navy's reputation. Then Saturn wants to go through with this still, but he comes up with 3 conditions that will and he'll let this go through. And so first of all, he says, Kuma, you gotta become a you gotta take up a position as one of our warlords of the sea. We actually get some other nice tidbit information here too. So this is like I think a little over 2 years before where the story started. After Ace went out to sea, we find out that Ace actually took out one of the warlords while he's still a rookie, and this seems to be after he's part of Whitebeard's crew, as we'll see him later with Whitebeard. He and so Kuma Saturn says to Kuma, with this vacancy, you would be the perfect person to join now because you're someone we know is of a great caliber. And then the second condition is where he Saturn wants Kuma to become a cyborg. So yeah, he tells him to come aside. Actually, I'm sorry, I was reading this over again. I was stopping and thinking for a second. It's funny that Kuma isn't like strong enough. And I was thinking, why not just wipe his mind, make his mind a machine, and into that? I guess maybe they have to do the whole process. I'm thinking about this like with RoboCop and how they turned Alex Murphy into a cyborg because his body was all destroyed by when he was gunned down horribly by those criminals in the movie. And Saturn goes on to say like the reason if you become enhanced on top of your already great strength and reputation, you'll become a perfect member of the Warlords, and actually one that can scare the heart, truly scare the pirates that we're trying to keep at bay. And Kizaru at one point steps up and says, "Oh yeah, we'd love to have you on our side too." And Vegapunk actually does yell at Kizaru at this point. You can see Kizaru's really pissed at Vegapunk's pissed at Kizaru at this point for like not being on his side. But then this is where Saturn brings up his final condition, which is the one that leads to where Bonnie's pissed. But well, now we know what she's figured out in the present, where her anger should be geared toward. Saturn says you must agree as his final condition to give up your free will and sense of individuality. And Vegapunk is the first to step up and with his morals and stand up for Kuma, and says that we can't do that. Saturn, that would be the same as killing him. And if you do that, he's basically just a robot. And do you expect me to kill a man? He also makes a good point here that I was thinking about. At this point, we got like Crocodile and Boa and Doflamingo and the likes that we know are like and Moria that kind of just do their own thing. They've just abused their position, but they haven't really at this point really done anything to like be kicked out. And so the Marines are probably and Saturn and the others. They're like, well, they're not going to listen to us, but we need them still, so we can't just replace them right away because there's not many people want to join the Warlords. And Vegapunk says, "Oh, you just want to have Kuma." Just having a Kuma, so you'll have at least one warlord listen to you, because none of the other ones will follow orders. And then when Saturn is like, Saturn reprimands him, saying, "You forget, you work for us now. You have no right to, object to this stuff. You work for us. If you want to make these machines and clones, I will have a say in these negotiations. Not you. You don't represent us. You just work for us." So I wonder at this point, Vegapunk has kind of regretted working for the military and not simply working with the revolutionaries. Which also makes me think once he lines this stuff out, combined with learning about more of the stuff from O'Hara, if that's why he asked Luffy in the present time to leave Egghead and go away somewhere. I'm thinking, even by this point, if Vegapunk even wanted to, I bet they wouldn't let him leave as one of their members. They probably would put him under like a house arrest, I think, just so they could keep him churning out stuff that will help their military force, because they want to replace the warlords. Probably, I bet even at this point they would love to replace the warlords. But the Yonko being such a problem, they need something. Anyways, so Saturn goes on. If all these conditions must be met if you expect to allow Vegapunk to help your daughter. And he says it really should be a small price to pay for you, because considering how difficult and expensive I hear this procedure is. If you don't do this, we're just going to kick you out. I have no obligation to help you guys, or to help Bonnie in particular. Although, I would like to point that out that may be a small clue to perhaps, unless Saturn doesn't remember, that Saturn may not be Bonnie's dad. I still like the idea that Bonnie, it doesn't matter whose Bonnie's dad is exactly. It's just that we know the Celestial Dragons are scum, and we've got that was one more nail in the coffin, as I said before. So, and Vegapunk tries to object again. I won't modify human. I won't do it. But Kuma here is crying his eyes out, but he's weighing in the options of what's happened or what's going to happen. But he steps up and says, "Vegapunk, do it. I've been spending years now worrying about Bonnie. How many years ago has it been since Bonnie got the blue scale? Did it start producing when she was 5? I don't remember when it was exactly, but so he says, "Yeah, I've been worrying about this for years. I've been trying everything. I have a cure. I have this answer right in my lap with your procedure. This is I'll accept my fate as long as this helps Bonnie." And this even tears up Vegapunk. Even Kizaru was like, "Wow, I think Kizaru was like thinking there, wow, I'm not sure I could do that." So we continue negotiations. We get a bit while this is happening. We see a little bit of Bonnie running around with Sentomaru trying to keep her under control. He's basically been given babysitting duties. So Saturn goes on. Vegapunk, how long will it take for these modifications for Kuma, and how long will it take to cure him? So the procedure for her is going to take 6 months. Plus, you need a year after that to heal and be ready before she could ever go outside in natural light. And then Kuma's modifications will take 2 years minimum. And Kuma just is like happy about this because she'll be cured by the time she's 10, the way he promised her. He's worried about keeping that promise. So obviously she's must be 7 or 8 now. Yeah. Um, so Saturn says, okay, we gotta, how do I know you're not gonna, be obedient? And so he decides here, though, Kuma says, I'm not gonna run. I want my daughter cured. So Saturn starts realizing, okay, we're gonna keep custody of her, and we'll allow her to be free after your procedure is completely done. So this is important here because this ties into something that I read some other chapters recently. Stuff I was reading. I was rereading the other Egghead chapters, and what was that one chapter with a kind of? This is important later. So they're gonna keep Bonnie as a hostage until their end of the deal is held. This is kind of similar. This reminds me of like well, a lot of movies do stuff like this, but this reminds me more of like in the days of when other nations, hundreds and thousands of years ago, tribes and nations would do like alliances, or there'd be like actually the one way I often see this is like, say like Rome would how do you say it? They would subdue nearby tribal peoples of like the Celtic peoples in Gaul. They would often take hostages of the noblemen of those peoples back to Rome in order to ensure that they did not rise up again. This is kind of what's happening here. There's also been like alliances that would be done among those tribal people when they were going to work together, and they would exchange hostages together to ensure they would hold up their end of the deal. Now, in this case, and similar to here, being a hostage does not mean they were treated poorly. They were done in a way that these people often be treated as guests in a home of some place of other people who they were part of, the other tribe or in Rome. It was only on a contingency, only if the other end of the other party that hostage was from reneged on their deal, was the point where that hostage could be harmed, killed, tortured, etc. This is kind of what they're going for. Vegapunk here once again though stands up and says, "Hey, wait! That means if you if you can't let her go after that, she'll never be able to he won't be able to won't get to see Bonnie after she's cured because he'll be a robot by then. Uh, so Saturn says, "Yeah, I don't care. I'm just his modifications must commence immediately. After he starts his tenure as Warlord and helps us out, and after his daughter is cured, we can't. I'm not going to allow them to have any contact. If there's any hint of defiance, I'm going to turn her into a slave." Actually, the way he says it's even worse. I'll make sure she spends the rest of her life as a slave. This really gets to Kuma because he grew up as a slave and his father was a slave, so he's obviously like, no, I don't want that to happen. Here we go. So now Kuma, this is where Kuma talks to he says to Vegapunk and even to Saturn, I won't try to run away, but I have a one small request. Don't tell Bonnie about this. She can't know about her illness or that she's being kept hostage. So this is why, yeah. Now this connects back nicely to what happened, like when Bonnie comes after Vegapunk, he about back in like 1070, etc. When she was chasing him around the lab, she wanted to know why. Because I wonder when she caught up to Kuma and found out he got turned into a cyborg. We know Kuma was almost fully. He must have been turned into one right after Sabaody, right? And she was there. Did they show her see him there? She must have known at some point there, because I think when she kind of confronts her after Blackbeard caught her, she was upset at him, yelling at him about what she found out about Kuma. Uh, oh, that guy almost looked like Kizaru. That almost reminded me of that one Cypherpole agent. So we see Kizaru listening in here. Okay, so Kuma continues this request for just saying when she wakes up from her procedure, I don't want her in some soulless government facility. Can you take her to Sorbet at least if you're gonna and watch over her there so she can be happy? And if you do that, I'll listen without any question. And Saturn considers this a moment, and he says, "Okay, I'll do it as long as I get what I want. I'll give you that merciful, but I'll be a little merciful." He doesn't say anything like that, but it's like you can see him like calculating this. And he's like, it doesn't matter where she's kept as long as the government oversees it. So now we get to where Kuma talks to her and fibs about what's going on. Uh, and so I'm trying to think now. He doesn't. So he doesn't want her to know about what her illness, but she knows she's sick, right? Wait, how did he explain to her she's sick again? Wait a minute. How did he explain the sickness to her again here? Wait. Let me just check that a minute. I'm trying to remember how that. Wait a minute. Oh, wait. She just thinks she's going to be better when she's 10. That's right. I was trying to think. How did he lie to her about that? Okay. So she doesn't understand the illness, right? So he has them just saying, yeah, we're going to stay here. So how does when she's getting tested, what are they lying to her about? How do they lie to her about that? I wonder. Wait a minute. Where'd that go again? So we're just going to stay here. Yeah, so they're probably just it doesn't really specify, but he must be saying that we're gonna stay here. Uh, I don't know if he ever says that they're gonna help her with what she's got. I think she's just completely under the impression that she'll just get better when she's 10. So he's just saying, I'm gonna stay here with you because I think I may have come down with something. And Bonnie's just elated with this because she's like, okay, that means we can be together. And then she introduces Sentomaru by saying, this is a weirdo. This weirdo is Sentomaru. And he's just like, that's rude. And so now we get and then she's like telling him, look at all this amazing place. It's got all these windows and stuff. And Kuma says, like, yeah, but be careful. So now we get a little, not like a montage. We see Vegapunk working at stuff. And this is where we see him where he's going to come up with the ideas of the, making his satellites. Because he's like, oh, I can make everything I ever wanted. But man, I have all these ideas. And I can't keep up. And then I have to eat and go to the restroom. And I'm just so short-handed. Down this stuff. He's got like hundreds and thousands of papers. and and you got assistants next to him that are just walking away holding these papers, and they're like some of them are even like straining under the amount of weight that's there. Okay, so now we start seeing a montage of their life there and their treatment beginning. We see Kuma. He looks like he's near something that's like an MRI machine, but you already can see the modifications being done. He's got this stuff on his arm, like those plates are being attached. He's got other tubes and stuff on him. Um, then we see next on the next panel is Bonnie. She's being treated with the stuff. You got different in that one. You see like three other doctors working on her. There's all kinds of machines and these big tubes of chemicals or something like medicines or something around her that are working on her. Then we get some happier stuff. We see like times where Bonnie's playing with Sentomaru and he looks so flustered at that point. Like, and because she's just waving at Kuma and he waves back and Sentomaru looks like he's trying to say, "Hey, can you get her now? I need a break." And we see moments where Bonnie, she's drawn a picture of Kuma, and of course it's like a little kid's drawing. But it's very cute, and it just reads "Daddy." And we get a moment where they're sleeping together, and he's like, "This time I'm surprised I didn't get a cage or something." And she's just laying on top of his chest, and they both got like bubbles. Each got a bubble coming out, and then we see these points too, where like with the we see the island being built up, and it's still like snowing there, and you see like cargo ships bringing in stuff, and you can see scaffolding building up some of the stuff. Oh, that's something I missed by the way in the beginning. When Kizuru first arrived, he was commenting how this place was far different than being at Punk Hazard because it was a jungle island, and Vegapunk had replied, "Oh, soon, someday, thanks to my science, this will be weather change will be a thing of the past. Weather like this will be a thing of the past. I'll make it whatever I want, kind of thing." We even see, and then we, so that was cute too. So we even get a panel here where it looks like Kuma is helping with some of the construction. He's carrying around heavy stuff for the while some of the workers are kicking back a little bit. Not like lazy. They're just like one guy there's holding a thing of beer, probably taking a break while Kuma helps out. And you can see Kuma don't mind. He's just smiling because he's there helping out. He probably likes doing simple labor like this that he can help out people. And Bonnie's sitting on top of the big thing he's carrying, cheering on, heavy. Uh, so there's a page here I missed right after this is what makes me even more mad at Kizaru. Right after that page I was reading where they showed Kuma helping around, it shows this one point where all these Kuma and Sentomaru, Vegapunk, and Kizaru and Bonnie are all together eating and they're having a good time together. And they're even doing a dancing around together. And they're all dancing like the silhouettes. He's got in the silhouettes of them doing the Nika dance, the one that Kuma always does, the one that his dad taught him, and they're all dancing around together. The funny thing too is Vegapunk still has his big head at this point, and he's still able to move around well. Oh, and this is sad too, because we get jump to this point too, where it's a half year later, and Vegapunk's studying Bonnie after the treatment. And he's like, "Yep, you're good now. So you just need you'll need a 1 year of rehabilitation, and you'll be completely cured." And Bonnie says, "Oh, thanks. When I'm got better, I'll come back and visit you guys." And you can see here too that Vegapunk has. This is where Vegapunk too is bonded with Bonnie, and he likes to take cares for her, which is like why we saw earlier in this arc. He's like, he sees when she faked her injury. He's like, "Oh, Bonnie, are you okay? I'll help you. Doctors, medics." And then we got to the part there where we went back to the home. So yeah, I'm gonna end this here, and I'm gonna just insert this in the middle of the video later. But this was just sad too to see Kizaru like doing that, and yeah, at this point too, you can see all the you can see all the you can see too here how Kizaru was like bonding with Sentomaru as well, and he was even here with Kuma. It just really makes me frustrated to see Kizaru still listening to the government when these people are becoming basically his friends. So now it seems we've jumped out to probably Yeah, must be the 6 month after the 6 month point. She's done with her treatment. I'm sure she hasn't realized it yet, and she still looks like she has some of the stuff on her eyes though. I see some on her this spot in here, but she comes back. Uh, Now yeah, Kuma is allowed to take her back here. Uh, and we go back. I mean, they meet. What's his name? We got some of the. We got the one pirate with her one guy will be her crewmate with the hat. There's Connie is there, and they're all like, "Hey, welcome back," and happy, oh, this happy reunion. And Bonnie tells him, "Yeah, I'm all better. I'm all better, almost all better. In 1 year, I'll be able to finally go outside." And one of the other women, elderly people, are like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. You always said you'd be fit as a fiddle by your time you turn 10." And this is where Connie comes in, actually. Yeah, Connie comes in and says, "Oh, does that mean I'll be taking care of you again?" And she calls her Bonnie actually calls her Granny Connie now. Um, and Connie just says to Kuma, "Yeah, we'll be more than happy to resume taking care of her. This is no problem to us. You can count on us." And then Kuma says, "Thank you," and all that. Um, so I don't, and he just makes the excuse because I'm still a pirate. I don't think I can still stay here. And he says to Bonnie, I think I'll be gone for at least a year." But it's obviously it's gonna be longer because they said this is still, according to what Vegapunk just said, it'll be another 18 months for the surgery to finish all the enhancements. Um, and he just like he of course is trying to keep his promise, keep her spirits up. So he says, "Yeah, when we see each other next, we'll go set sail like we always wanted to and visit places." Uh, and he's like, "Yeah, I love that." And she's like, "Yeah, let's go to all those places we talked about." And he's like, "I would love to do that." And we even see him think to himself, "Oh, I really wish I could have done that." And now when we get this bitch come in, uh, now we get this. This must be. So we get this new Cypher Pole agent, and I see a lot of people comparing her to Khalifa because she looks quite a bit like her. But this says she's from Cypher Pole 8, and her name is Alpha. But she's built exactly. She looks almost like she could be Khalifa's twin. So she comes in here with these two doctors who are probably government doctors. They're probably there just to make sure she's Bonnie's well to keep up their end of the deal for Kuma. But this woman, boy, so she takes uh so she talks all sweet and nice to Bonnie, talking about how I'll be here taking care of her for her recovery. Uh, I think Bonnie will recognize something's up with her a little bit. But she like takes Kuma aside here, and oh yeah. So also that while they're doing that, they're putting up a fence and stuff around the place to try and keep Bonnie imprisoned here, but she doesn't realize it yet. Um, Oh yeah, so she's doing all this spiel. I'll be checking her temperature, doing the medication. We won't let anyone. No one's gonna be visiting here without. Let's have a pass. Uh, but she takes Kuma aside here. She's holding like I don't know what she's holding her exactly. She's got something in her hand, and she says to Kuma, she's whispering it. Yeah, she's like, "Sister, don't forget, children are so fragile." And she crushes whatever she's holding in her hand. And he says he's like, so Kuma knows what's going on, and he's like, so he goes up to Bonnie and says, this is probably like the last thing he ever says to her. He's like, "Bonnie, I'm glad you were born." And he just pats her on the head. By the way, I think that's what the name of the chapter cover was. I forgot to look. What was the chapter cover called? No, it's just called Thank You, Bonnie. That's right. I forgot to bring that up. Um, so, everyone starts, Kuma waves goodbye. He's walking out of the church. Um, And then we start getting we start getting a montage of seeing all kinds of other characters here. We get first a monologue from the uh wait a minute, I gotta pull something. What's that girl's name? We get the thing saying when the infamous tyrant Bartholomew Kuma became a member of the sea. Wait, what does that say? Wait a minute. Oh, that's right. It was it. Oh, I missed the spot. Sorry. It says the pirates were of the world were shocked when they found out that infamous tyrant had become an obedient member of the seven warlords. One second. I gotta look up a character's name. I can't remember here. So we start seeing. Well, I'm trying to look up here for the other part. We start seeing all the other warlords at the time. And we still don't know anything about uh which one was the who he replaced. Who could he had replaced? Let's see. Come on. The heck's her name? Oh, that one. So first we jump to Doflamingo and Sugar, and she's the one. She walks up with a newspaper and goes to, "Hey, look, Master, there's a new warlord." Wait a minute, is Sugar? How old is Sugar again? I thought she was still pretty young. I know she looks like a kid, but I didn't think she was younger than Doflamingo. She calls him Young Master. Wait, how old is she? Yeah, she's younger than him. She calls him Young. They have it called Young Master. I think everyone just calls him that. And then Doflamingo just like, oh, this is interesting. He just kind of like a tyrant joining the ranks of the warlord. This is another villain has come to play, and and then we switch to we actually get to see Robin in this flashback when she was still known as Miss All Sunday, and she's reading the paper, and they're in their base together with her and Crocodile, and she asks him, "What do you think about this?" And he just Crocodile just dismissive. He just couldn't care. Anyways, did you take care of those idiots who had spotted our rainmaking ship? Hey, stop it. Sit. Good girl. Then we just briefly switched to then Mihawk. And I'm trying to figure out where he is. He looks like he's out in the sea and like he's, I think, destroyed another ship. Something for because he's bored. And he's just reading the paper too. And we also switched, we actually get switched to Alvita, a panel of Alvita and Kobe. And Alvita's like, Kobe's there doing this swabby stuff. He's like mopping the deck, it looks like. Uh, and Alvita goes up to Kobe. He's like, "Oh, look at this new warlord, Kobe. He's as big as Whitebeard. Who do you reckon is stronger, though, him or me?" And of course, Kobe always has to answer that she is, or he'd get punished. And she's like, "Yeah, of course, it's you, Alvita. And who else could be stronger than you?" And then what's the next ones we see? Oh, now we get to Ace. So Ace is there with Jinbei, Whitebeard, Marco, and Blackbeard. Uh, and Ace just says, "Hey, they found a replacement. Isn't that great, Jinbei?" And Jinbei just like, considering that you're the one who got rid of the warlord, I didn't expect you to be saying that. And you got like Whitebeard just kind of there like, wonder what this means for us, if anything. And he's already looks like Viper's wearing some. Yeah, that's right. Because you can see him with the. He's got his coat on, and he's got some of that stuff, medical stuff on him. And you see Blackbeard, of course, as he was, with his white shirt and his the way he was when he's on Whitebeard's ship. And he's like, I'm reading the details behind him. This is an interesting character they picked. And Marco's just there, but he doesn't have any lines. Uh, Wait a minute. Wait, what does he say that for? And so, again, Jinbei says something funny here that I'm not quite following. He's a former king. That's right. This is on top of the reigning king we already have in our ranks. Oh, that's right. Doflamingo. Duh. Doflamingo is the reigning king. And he says, "Oh, the pirate world really is changing a lot." Uh, and then we briefly see Boa as well. And Granny, what's her name? Granny Neon is showing it to her because she's the one always reading the papers. And Boa is extremely dismissive of this information as well. She's like, this business isn't anything for us to even worry about. I'm not going to follow any man's orders. And Granny's just like, this is information we should be keeping track of. You must keep up with current events, And then she just, Bo is just walking away. Hancock. I always just call it Boa, but it's Hancock. And last we briefly see of the Warlord, we see Moria just taking a nap, and Perona's there telling him about it. And he's just kind of like laughing about this, like finding this kind of interesting himself. And wait, no, he's the one. So he's the one saying, "Oh, he's a pom pom. His name is a paw paw man." That doesn't sound very frightening. And Perona just says, "Well, he's already a warlord now, so it's not like they're deciding on it. So he must be pretty powerful if they wanted to have him join Moria." And now, and we also just briefly switch to Sabo, Koala, and we also see Dragon, and we see that one fishman that's with him. I forget his name. And Dragon doesn't say anything. You can tell though he looks like he's regretting what happened now. This is inadvertently his fault because he suggested going to Vegapunk. But Sabo just says, "Don't the warlords directly work for the government? Why would Kuma do that?" And Koala's too is in disbelief and says he would never work for them. The other guy just looks grim in the background as well, the fishman. Um, so now we get to the last page, and we see let's see, where is he? So he's Kuma's flying, going around on his ship. He's got like his own big pirate ship now. I'm trying to think if he had this later. Was this one shown maybe during the Skypiea arc? Oh, wait a minute, I just saw. So his ship is a pretty large, like something like the Sunny, I'm guessing. But it's his Jolly Roger. It reads Kuma, but right in the middle, it has the illustration of how Bonnie drew his face. And he's got a cross at one point on the back, somewhere in a cabin or up in the upper deck, maybe. And while this is being shown, it looks like he's just destroyed an island. I'm guessing he's starting out to do missions on the orders of the government. Hopefully, there were only pirates he killed there. And now, right now, he's penning a letter to Bonnie. Let's see. So he says to Bonnie, "I'm still at sea while I'm writing this letter to you. I'm getting quite well known, and it's getting harder to sail in peace. But I'll be okay. I'm doing my best now too to find some nice destinations that we can go out to together when we're 10. When you're 10, excuse me. I hope everything's okay, and you're doing as well as I am." And we see him hand this letter off to a coup, one of the coup seagull things. And at the very last panel, we briefly first see Luffy about running around with a tiger chasing him. And now we see this message. We see Kuma's ship sailing up to Fusha village, and then he receives a message from his handlers, and they said, "Come in. We have new commands. Where's your current location?" And then he responds, "I'm in the East Blue. What are my orders?" And I don't think there's a break next week. So now a lot of people are like speculating. Does this mean Kuma was going to go assassinate Luffy at this point? I'm a little hesitant to say that. I'm not on board with that idea because just like they didn't know about Ace, I think there's almost virtually no way that they would know Luffy is there or that Dragon even has a child at this point. It wasn't until I think Luffy, started making names for himself and then people started doing some digging around that they might figure that out. I could be wrong on that part, at least about knowing about him. But what I wanted to get at too here is I found a couple things interesting yesterday when I was rereading the Egghead. So we see here that Bonnie gets locked up. And I'm going to have to actually pull up the other chapter a minute. There's a chapter, I think it might be this one. I had it saved. Wait a minute. Come on, why won't you come up? Uh, yep. It's in chapter 595. This was the first hint we got of this. That was where Blackbeard was shown with with his crew, where they had left and they had captured Bonnie and the others. We see her friend there with the hat again, and the others all beat up. And ew, that's even grosser now. Thinking of realizing that Bonnie's just a kid. We see her all beat up and the others as well. So they obviously have fought back as much as they could, but she's all tied up here. But oh, she gave him a good kick there. I forgot about that. And so, anyways, a Kainu showed up with a battleship, and so Blackbeard and the others had to flee because they didn't want to fight him at this point. And Kainu just, I'm going to read this verbatim here. Kainu had said at this moment, a cold shiver ran through me when I heard you ran away from the government. And she just said, you'll pay for this. And so, yeah, so at some point here, so that was 2 years ago, at the end of the right before the time skip, and so we can line up the time here to see that excuse me a second, that Bonnie at some point, someone in the oh, that must be someone in the from Sorbet must have been able to figure out what was going on and informed Bonnie about what had actually become of Kuma and what Vegapunk did. But she didn't understand what Vegapunk's side of the story, obviously, and why. But she found out Kuma is becoming a well, I don't think she probably didn't understand about his modifications yet. She just knew he had become a warlord and was going around following their orders, fighting pirates. And so she took it upon herself to go out there and find out what's going on. Now, let me pull up this other chapter. So at some point she left. So see, this was that was she was gonna be 18 months on the surgery and the healing, and he was gonna be 2 years. So at some point there, she must have in the 6 months or maybe even after, when Kuma's out at sea. Bonnie, probably afterward. I bet Bonnie. How did they say they were gonna just keep her? Let me see here. Come on. Gotta read back on Saturn's side of the deal. Let's see. She'll be free after you fall through the erasure. Okay, so they're planning on keeping her. They were planning on keeping her imprisoned as a hostage, basically, until his mind was completely erased, which would take longer than the 2 years, I guess, because we see him going out around doing stuff, but he's still writing letters. Unless he's already started, actually. Maybe he's already started and he's just not. Maybe it wasn't the full 2 years yet, and he just was starting to do some of the stuff while Vegapunk was not ready to complete the process. But at some point there, Bonnie has figured out what's going on, and she must have escaped. And what I wanted to bring up, what's interesting about that too, is that there's something that actually Rob Lucci said. Oh, where was it? I think it might have been 1069. Let me pull that up. No, maybe 1068. Yeah. Let me find it. I had it. No, I had it written down here. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 1067. It was 1067 that Lucci actually comments about her being a. Here, let me find the page. This is right when they're arriving at the Cypher Pole Zero's ship is arriving there. Someone says to Lucci, we have eyewitness reports that Julie Bonnie was sailing to Egghead. And Lucci says, oh, an obnoxious woman with all of her escapes. Actually, that's good to know too, because Akainu caught her, and we don't know where she was taken at that point, or when Akainu caught her 2 years ago. But when we first see her again, I think it was the first time we see her is at reverie, and then she's there using her old age look to appear as Connie, because Bulldog was probably there to sneak around, because Kuma at that point had been turned into being used by the celestial dragons to be they're riding him around like a mount. Which actually something that's bugging me there is he became their I think he by the point after between Stab Odie and Marineford, I think Vegapunk once have completed his process, and when he was fighting there, he was fighting Oris the Third, right? And he used his bubble power, his repel power there. I'm just wondering, why did they decide to take him? What celestial? Oh, I guess the celestial dragons can technically do whatever they want, but I mean the other warlords would have not let this happen. But oh man, what if one of the other warlords had figured out who Boa is? I just realized when she was still a warlord, what if they had figured out who she is, or even if they didn't and they wanted to like try and take her as their bride, as it were, as like they did with Ginny. I wonder if they would anyone would be able to object to that, because they would say, well, no, she's one of our warlords. We need her. You can't have her. I don't know if how that would play out, but Kuma did end up becoming just a toy to the world, the celestial dragons, riding around on him up there. Anyways, I'm getting off topic on it. And that's interesting too. But Bonnie went there. She figured out he was sent there, and she snuck in there. And then she now ended up trying to go to Egghead so that she could figure out how to change him back. Anyways, yeah. A lot of stuff here. I actually definitely gonna do a follow-up video. I have a bunch of other notes here. I want to talk about some of the post stuff I've been noticing here. Yeah. Yeah, there's some other stuff with this cloning stuff and things I want to go over. But let's see, is that everything today? Oh yes, yeah, it was funny. Kuma said in the last chapter he would make a deal with the devil, and he ended up doing that. Yeah, I was thinking too. Was there any delay too with how Kuma his mind wasn't erased right away? Could we see him here doing this? He's writing letters to Bonnie. We saw when Crocodile gets taken down. Him and Doflamingo are the two that go to Marijua. They arrive first. So Mihawk arrives too. They're there at the meeting, and he's reading a Bible. And then we see, of course, Sentomaru, I think, is the one who orders him to, or he's talking to Sentomaru there too. I don't think the Gorosei had any say in that. I don't know. I don't think when he sent Kuma is sent to Thriller Bark to take out the Straw Hats, because the Enies lobby thing has really caught everyone's attention, and they can't have him. Luffy at that point, they don't want him causing any more trouble, and we see him talking and stuff. So I was just wondering why they had done that kind of delay. But yeah, this chapter is exactly what I thought it was going to be. I'm sorry, Dragon fans. I'm just trying to figure out now if this is where if we're gonna get anything about what he's doing at Fuchsia Village, or if this is gonna be like a cliffhanger. Where is that? Hold on a second. Sorry, that last thing. I just thought that was funny that they put these Cipher Pole agents in the in charge of trying to stop Bonnie, but they couldn't keep her in there. So and then Solucci even knew about her because he'd heard they'd probably like swap information amongst each other at Cipher Poles with the Cipher Pole agents. Because back then he would have been still an 9th agent. Well, no, he was undercover at the time at Water 7. He must have found out when that cover broke. Yeah, they still somehow must be able to swap information. And he would have found out, oh, these Cipher Pole 8 agents lost Bonnie, who's been there hostage there to keep that one warlord in check. So I just thought that was funny. So yeah, there was some stuff like that was funny. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that here today. Oh, hey, Waller. I'm gonna leave the chapter end off that today. So yeah, that went exactly as I expected. We got to see what happened. The only thing, anyways, that's it for today. Yeah.